The day Amelia Forrest became a millionaire live streamer, she turned on her camera. She poured herself a full glass of strong, 50-degree liquor. The first toast is to myself. After the college entrance exam, he sweet-talked me into changing my university choice. But then he took my stepsister abroad. I studied like hell for another year before finally getting into the school I really wanted. She tilted her head back and down the glass. The burning liquor seared her throat. Then she refilled it. The second toast is to myself. After graduation, he became my boss. Just to have me take the punishment for my stepsister's failed dare, he threw me to a group of drunk men. I fought until my ribs cracked just to protect my chastity. The third toast is to myself. After that, he said he would take responsibility. But when an earthquake hit, he abandoned me in the disaster zone to search for my stepsister's dog. I held on until the rescue team arrived. My left leg was fractured, and to this day, it still has a steel plate in it. The fourth toast is to myself. Last month, he ran away from our engagement banquet. When he came back, he brought my stepsister and slapped me in front of everyone, scolding me for getting engaged while she was heartbroken. The livestream viewer count instantly surged past 100,000. Netizens flooded the chat with sympathy and outrage at the scumbag. But Amelia Forrest smiled through her tears and lifted her ring finger, showing the wedding band. Fortunately, it's all in the past. This last toast is to myself, because in 7 days, I'll finally marry someone who truly loves me. And I thank him for not marrying me. The internet exploded. Holy crap. What kind of next-level scumbag is this? Sis, run. She's so graceful. Not once did she name the scumbag or the stepsister. Such dignity. It's fine, sis, you better livestream that wedding in 7 days. We'll form a squad to support you. Amelia had just thought to say that she hadn't actually told Martin Williams about the wedding yet. When the front door burst open with a loud bang, Martin Williams stormed in like a whirlwind and, without hesitation, grabbed Amelia's hand and dragged her outside. Come with me. We're going to the hospital. Amelia stared at him, stunned. What for? Compatibility testing. He practically spat the words through clenched teeth. Amelia panicked, then suddenly remembered. Joanna Forrest had reportedly been diagnosed with uremia. She urgently needed a kidney transplant. Since the engagement, Amelia had barely kept in touch with the Forrest family, and she hadn't spoken to Joanna at all. Once they arrived at the hospital, Amelia was forcibly taken for a tissue match test. So much blood was drawn that her face turned pale and her legs began to tremble. When she walked into the patient room, no one even looked at her. Joanna, looking fragile and pitiful, was surrounded by the Forrest family like a precious porcelain doll. Her father poured her warm water, his eyes full of worry. My poor girl. If only I could suffer in your place. Her stepmother dabbed at her eyes dramatically, then cast a sharp glance at Amelia, standing at the doorway, as if silently accusing, why did such a deadly illness have to befall my sweet, innocent Joanna? As if saying, it should have been Amelia. Martin held Joanna's hand and spoke with a gentleness as soft as a spring breeze. Don't worry, Joanna. I've already asked Amelia to do the test. I won't miss any chance to save you. Tears welled in Joanna's eyes. She leaned into Martin's chest, sobbing. Brother Martin, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm just scared that if I die, I'll never see you again. Don't talk nonsense, baby. You're not going to die, her stepmother quickly tapped her lips. Martin, completely ignoring everyone else, gently cradled Joanna in his arms, comforting her as if she were an infant, as if Amelia, his fiancé, were already dead. Joanna, he whispered, we promise to see every corner of the world together. Even if death himself comes, I'll fight him to bring you back. Amelia stood in the shadows like a forgotten prop. Her heart had long since gone numb. This wasn't the first time she'd experienced something like this. What she still didn't understand was how a father who once loved her so dearly could turn around and give all his love to Joanna. And why Martin would fall in love with the daughter of the woman who destroyed her family. She had searched for that answer for 10 years. Now, she no longer wanted it. She didn't belong in their warm, cozy family picture. So she turned to leave. Martin's voice called after her. Amelia. Just 2 syllables, yet it was cold as ice, completely different from the warmth he had just shown Joanna. Amelia answered flatly, what is it? He paused for a moment. The results will take at least 5 days. Don't go anywhere during that time. Joanna's health comes first. Amelia nodded obediently. All right. I won't go anywhere. Anything else? If not, I'd like to go home now. She took a step, but Martin suddenly grabbed her wrist tightly. His palm was burning hot, so hot it almost seared her skin. She froze and turned back. For a brief second, she was reminded of the past. Back in high school, when a group of punks bullied her, he had clutched her wrist just as tightly, pulling her through the crowd, desperate to save her. Martin met her gaze and paused, then slowly loosened his grip. His eyes darkened. You need to stop drinking these next few days. Amelia blinked in surprise. I saw you at home, half a bottle of liquor, gone. If the match is successful, you'll have to donate a kidney to Joanna. So you must stop drinking. Heh. Amelia let out a bitter laugh. His concern for her was nothing more than concern for Joanna. She slipped her hand from his grip, her voice barely audible. All right. As she turned to leave, a thought silently echoed in her heart. There's no way she and Joanna would be a match. That was a secret only she knew. Back home, Amelia began packing. In the corner of her study, a dusty box caught her eye. Peeking out from the lid was a photo. She and Martin, back in their third year of middle school, holding hands and making heart shapes. It was that same year her mother passed away. At the funeral, Dad Forrest had brought home his new wife, and with her, Joanna, who had been raised outside the family for more than 10 years. Amelia cried, screamed, and knelt at her mother's grave, soaking in the rain. Martin had cradled her feverish body, rushing her to the hospital. When Dad Forrest arrived, Martin punched him square in the jaw. His eyes were bloodshot. His fingers trembled as he pointed at Dad Forrest and the woman and daughter beside him. If you dare hurt Amelia again, I swear, I'll kill you. Amelia had opened her eyes weakly, and Martin's back had looked like an unshakable fortress. In that moment, she truly believed he loved her. The Williams and Forrest families had arranged their engagement since their grandfather's generation. So Martin and Amelia had been inseparable ever since they were children, until they graduated middle school. But when they entered high school, Martin started growing closer and closer to Joanna. He told her, I'm only doing this to keep an eye on her. I don't want her to hurt you. The one who used to walk her home from school became the one walking alongside Joanna. The one who used to say goodnight to her every night became the one bidding goodnight to Joanna. Martin even went to the Forrests' home to personally apologize to Dad Forrest, just so he could throw Joanna a proper birthday party. Amelia was dazed for a long time, until one day during senior year, Martin suddenly came to her. Amelia, let's apply to the same university. My grades aren't enough, but I only want to be with you. Amelia clung to his words like they were her last lifeline. Despite scoring a stellar 660, she followed him and applied to a university in the remote Northwest. But on the very day of enrollment, she saw a post from Joanna on social media, off to chase my dreams abroad with someone important. Amelia called him frantically, demanding an explanation. All she got in return was a flat reply: Joanna was diagnosed with depression. I'm taking her abroad for treatment. Don't call unless it's important. It was as if Martin had forgotten their promise the moment he turned away. Later, she learned the truth. Joanna had poor grades and was jealous of her. So she had convinced Martin to persuade Amelia to change her university application. And so it went. Amelia spent 10 years locked in a cage Martin built for her, all under the name of love. The box in the study contained every gift Martin had ever given her. Luxury perfumes, expensive watches, and over time, increasingly careless trinkets. When she threw the entire box into the trash bin, an old woman collecting recyclables passed by, her voice surprised. Miss, are you sure you don't want this? Everything in here looks brand new. Amelia blinked and shook her head. Things that have lost their meaning? I don't need them anymore. By the time she finished cleaning up, night had fallen. Amelia fell into a deep sleep, but several notifications buzzed on her phone. The next morning, her inbox was exploding. Turns out, after watching her live broadcast and seeing her toasts, her fans had flooded her messages with concern. Amelia didn't even have time to reply to them all before one message popped up. Come to Queen Garden now, Joanna's birthday. The tone was sharp. It was her father, and clearly not a request. Amelia's pupils contracted. The words were black on white, yet they stabbed at her like blood-red blades. She glanced at the calendar, and her heart twisted with pain. But then she reminded herself, she was getting married in 7 days. Some things needed to be settled. She drafted a statement to formally sever ties and drove off. As soon as she arrived at the estate, she walked through a long corridor lined with blooming roses. There stood Joanna in a pink princess dress, radiant and glowing like the star of the evening, surrounded by admiration. Amelia saw Martin place a crystal pendant, made from the wishing lantern they'd once lit, around Joanna's neck. Even though Joanna still had a sickly pallor on her face, the grand celebration had almost entirely covered it up. Dad Forrest and the stepmother stood nearby, smiling tenderly at them. Happy 25th birthday to our Forrest family's little princess. Do you have a wish? Joanna glanced shyly at Martin. Only one wish? Then, I hope the one who loves me will love me forever. Martin's voice was low, doting. I'll make all your wishes come true. Just then, Amelia stepped forward. At the sight of her, the crowd fell instantly silent. As if she were some unwanted guest. Before Amelia could even speak, Dad Forrest furrowed his brows. Today is your sister's birthday. Why are you dressed like you're going to a funeral? She looked down at herself. Sure enough, black shirt, black pants, and even a white flower pinned to her chest. She didn't look like she was here for a birthday celebration at all, she looked like she was mourning. Dad, I have something to talk to you about. Amelia. Martin's voice cut her off coldly. He stepped forward, the storm in his eyes already brewing. He lowered his voice. Do you really have to ruin Joanna's day? A fresh sting pierced Amelia's heart. Martin had always looked at her with cold indifference. Only when it concerned Joanna did he ever react with such intensity. I'm not here for the party, Amelia said evenly. I just need to speak with my father. Once I'm done, you all can continue. Martin was momentarily furious at her composure. Where's your sense of manners? Apologize to Joanna. The stepmother chimed in sarcastically from the side. Sorry, everyone. Amelia was never properly raised, so she doesn't know how to behave. Please, enjoy your food and drinks. She said it with a smile, but her real message was clear. Amelia's mother died early, so no one taught her any decency. Those words stabbed straight into Amelia's heart. She locked eyes with the stepmother. You're right. I wasn't properly raised. If some homewrecker hadn't forced her way into our house, maybe my mother wouldn't have died from grief. She might still be alive today. Smack. The slap from Dad Forrest landed hard across her cheek. Martin instinctively tried to block it, but Joanna tugged him back by the arm. You ungrateful child. Dad Forrest's face flushed red as he panted furiously. How dare you speak to your elders like this? Get out of here. Amelia touched her swollen cheek, then gave a chilling, bitter smile. You want me to leave? Fine. But sign this agreement first. She reached into her bag, but before she could pull out the statement, Joanna walked over, carrying a plate of cake, her face the perfect picture of innocent sorrow. Sis, today is a happy day. I'm already glad you came. Come, let me feed you a bite of cake. She scooped up a spoonful and held it toward Amelia. But nestled within the white cream, two long antennae twitched. A dying cockroach, disguised as chocolate, wriggled weakly in the frosting. Amelia instinctively raised her hand to push it away. Joanna stumbled dramatically to the ground and burst into tears. Sis, I know you hate me. You didn't have to eat the cake. But why did you have to push me? That was my favorite part, the strawberry. I didn't even give it to anyone else. You're insane. Martin roared and shoved Amelia hard. Amelia looked at Joanna, took a deep breath, and said calmly, You know exactly what you put in that cake. Joanna bit her lip and cried louder. Sis, how could you slander me like this? That cake was expensive. By now, Martin's eyes had lost all warmth. He grabbed the entire cake tray. Apologize. I won't. The next second, the entire cake came crashing down on Amelia's head. Gasps erupted all around. Some couldn't help but whisper, they always said the Williams-Forrest engagement was all business, no love. Look at how young Master Williams treats her, sigh. Exactly. It's obvious he's in love with the second daughter. Amelia lifted her head slowly, letting the sticky cream drip down her face. She looked utterly humiliated, yet suddenly, she smiled. It was eerie. A little tragic. Dad Forrest exploded. Enough. Do you even know what today is? Go wash your face and change. Dad. Amelia cut him off sharply, her voice full of pain and hatred. Don't you remember what day it is? Today is also the anniversary of my mother's death. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. A flicker of panic crossed Dad Forrest's eyes. The stepmother and Joanna both turned pale. Martin's breath caught in his throat. Amelia, why didn't you tell me? Amelia said nothing. She hadn't kept it from him. He had just long ago, forgotten. For countless years now, on this very day, Martin would always be cheerfully preparing a gift for Joanna. And Amelia, she would be left alone in the cemetery, hugging her knees in front of her mother's grave, whispering to no one but the wind. That day, she pulled out the statement she had written from her bag, the one to sever ties with her father. Then, wiping the cream off her face, she said each word with painful clarity, From this day forward, I formally sever all father-daughter ties with Mr. Jason Forrest. I still need to visit my mother's grave. As for this little celebration of yours, enjoy it without me. The sky suddenly turned overcast and heavy with clouds. She didn't know how far she had walked from the estate. It was a remote area, and there was no way to hail a ride. Frustrated, she stood by the side of the road. Until Martin's car pulled up in front of her. He rolled down the window. His voice was still cold. Get in. I'll take you. Amelia hesitated for a moment, caught between staying and fleeing. Martin's face remained stormy, but there was a trace of something more complicated in his expression. You won't find a ride out here. And you don't want to be stuck when night falls, do you? In the end, she got in the car. They drove in silence. At the first intersection, Martin frowned ever so slightly. Where to? Amelia didn't answer. She simply pulled out her phone and opened the map for him. Martin followed the GPS, fumbling for quite a while before finally finding the cemetery. What a joke. The first year her mother died, Dad Forrest had rushed to marry the stepmother into the house. That day also happened to be Joanna's birthday. He had thrown a lavish banquet to celebrate, completely forgetting his late wife's memorial. It was Martin who had accompanied Amelia to the cemetery that year. It had been a gloomy day, much like this one. He'd stood silently behind her with an umbrella as she cried until her voice broke. Later, he had carried her down the mountain on his back, step by step. Back then, he had said, "Amelia, don't be afraid. Every year from now on, I'll come with you to visit your mom." But now, he couldn't even remember where the cemetery was. Amelia laid the bouquet in front of her mother's tombstone. Martin stood behind her, muttering to himself. "You really disappointed me earlier. You ruined Joanna's birthday party and embarrassed Uncle Forrest. When we get back, apologize to him properly, and let's call it even." Even? And you should apologize to Joanna too. What you said today really hurt her. Even if her mom and your dad cheated, that wasn't her fault. She's innocent. Innocent? Amelia said nothing, quietly arranging the offerings on the grave. Her fingertips were growing colder and number by the second. "Amelia," Martin said, frowning, "stop being so childish." She abruptly stood up and turned to face him, her voice sharp and steady. "Martin, don't bring your filth to my mother's grave." His face changed in an instant. Suddenly, the silence was broken by his phone ringing. He answered, and immediately panicked. "I'm on my way back. Don't let Joanna out of your sight." Without so much as a glance at Amelia, he turned and ran. She stood there, stunned, alone in the cold. The sky was already darkening. The cemetery was remote, and she still couldn't get a ride. Left with no choice, she began to walk down the hill on foot. The rain started falling harder. She wrapped her arms around herself and trudged forward, step by soaking step. By the time she made it home, she was completely drenched, looking like a drowned rat. She quickly took a hot shower and wrapped herself in blankets. But soon, her throat began to burn. A cough escaped her lips, and an icy chill spread over her whole body. Her skin was burning up, yet she felt freezing cold. Fever. It had happened once before, years ago, when her father took Joanna and her mother to Disneyland abroad. She had come down with a fever in the middle of the night and started rambling nonsense, as if she'd seen her mother. In a fever dream, she remembered the 15-year-old Martin. His eyes full of concern. Gently dabbing her with alcohol wipes. A warm towel on her forehead. And falling, alongside it, his tears. "Amelia, please wake up. Don't scare me like this. Amelia, stay with me, don't sleep. Amelia." That last one was a shout, almost a roar. Amelia opened her eyes in a daze. Crack. A bolt of lightning split across the sky, illuminating Martin's furious face. Not the gentle 15-year-old Martin from her memory, but the 27-year-old man he had become. Before she could react. Slap. His palm landed hard on her face. Martin's eyes blazed with hatred. "Why did you slander Joanna? Do you have any idea she attempted suicide? She slit her wrists." The slap threw her head to the side. She was already burning up, her head swimming with fever. Her chest felt like it was being sawed open with a dull knife. Martin shoved his phone into her face, the edge striking her cheek. "Look for yourself." Hands trembling, Amelia picked up the phone. The web page was flooded, hundreds of thousands of comments, all cursing Joanna. Someone had dug up Amelia's personal information after her live-stream toast. The scumbag? Martin. The homewrecker? Joanna. Someone had even broken into her old, locked blog from middle school. And her private, encrypted diary had been leaked. Once the entries came to light, the truth was instantly clear. Disgusting. Cheating must run in the family, her mom was a mistress, and so is she. Poor Amelia. Being toyed with by those two monsters. That scumbag of a father is no better. The whole family is rotten. Amelia, run. Joanna is pure trash, just like her mother, a thief and a liar. Amelia stared, dazed. She had never expected that a casual, emotional toast would trigger such a massive uproar. What puzzled her most was this: her only QQ account was hidden and encrypted. She hadn't added classmates or friends. So how did these people find her? She has depression, and you're a cruel, poisonous woman. Martin gripped her throat tightly, his hot breath fanning across her face. If you hate me, come at me. But why hurt Joanna? I didn't. Amelia rasped. Didn't? Martin scoffed. You always looked so quiet and withdrawn, yet you secretly became a million-follower influencer behind my back. I had no idea you were this calculating. So all this, becoming an internet celebrity, was just a grand scheme to get revenge on Joanna? On me? Amelia shook her head in pain, struggling to breathe. But the fever and the suffocating pressure made even speaking feel like dragging knives through her throat. She could only make out a hoarse, broken whisper. I didn't slander her. I didn't expose her. Every word I said during that live stream was true. Martin's smile turned icy. So what if it was true? Those facts don't hurt you. You exaggerated them just to stir the pot. If your words caused Joanna pain, then you deserve to die for it. Deserve to die. Those 4 words stabbed into Amelia's chest like 4 icy blades, piercing her one after another. Martin finally let go. He watched as Amelia collapsed to the ground, dry heaving in agony, and there wasn't even a flicker of sympathy in his eyes. I admit, I used to have feelings for you. But after the way you constantly bullied Joanna, whatever feelings I had are long gone. If it weren't for my grandfather's dying wish that I marry you, I wouldn't even bother with a woman as vicious as you. In that moment, Amelia's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. She forced herself to look up and meet his icy gaze. Don't worry. There won't be a wedding. Amelia, what nonsense are you spouting? Martin sneered, his voice thick with mockery. You really think I'd believe that? Isn't your entire reason for living to marry me? Amelia closed her eyes. She didn't even want to argue anymore. But in the next second, Martin seized her wrist. Go clarify everything right now. Tell the public you made it all up. Amelia opened her eyes. And if I don't? The air fell silent. Martin looked down, and the murderous intent in his eyes darkened. Then on the day of the wedding, I'll dig up your mother's ashes and scatter them in front of you. Boom. Thunder crashed again. Amelia stared at Martin in disbelief. Her eyes locked onto his, searching, desperately, for someone else beneath them. Her gaze made Martin pause, just for a second. But the words were already out. And there was no taking them back. Amelia, you know I always follow through. After a long, aching pause, Amelia suddenly smiled. Liar. You said you'd protect me for life, didn't you? And yet, you failed. Martin's heart gave a sharp jolt. He had never seen Amelia smile like that before. It was the kind of smile that came when your soul had completely given up. Despairing, but relieved. Fine. Martin moved fast. Within a few hours, he had already arranged a press conference. Amelia was still burning with fever. Her face flushed unnaturally, her breath heavy and hot. When the distorted sound of the microphone blasted in her ears, she could only remember herself speaking like a lifeless machine, reciting a script. I'm sorry. Everything I said was made up out of jealousy toward Joanna. I'm mentally unstable. I've always been petty and obsessive. I couldn't stand seeing Joanna do well. I sincerely apologize to the public for the trouble I've caused and am willing to bear legal responsibility. The press room descended into chaos. Online, public opinion did a complete 180. Everyone began attacking Amelia. When Joanna appeared in front of the cameras, a bandage around her wrist and tears shimmering in her eyes, she whispered, I don't blame my sister. She's just a little too sensitive. When the stepmother tearfully said, I've always treated Amelia like my own daughter. I never thought she'd do this to us. And when Dad Forrest sighed heavily and said, I failed as a father. I didn't raise her well. To show our remorse, I'm donating $5 million to the public on her behalf. Finally, Martin appeared, dressed sharply in a dark suit, standing tall like a statue. Amelia was a childhood engagement my grandfather foolishly arranged. I've never had any romantic feelings for her. As for Joanna, I only ever treated her like a sister. I had no idea Amelia's mind had become so twisted, to the point of fabricating lies to hurt Joanna. The faint glimmer in Amelia's eyes finally went dark. Her fans shouted that they had been deceived. Within hours, her follower count plummeted to single digits. One angry fan even burst into the conference room and hurled a rotten egg at her face. Amelia couldn't take it anymore. She collapsed. And in her dreams, she was 15 again. Just her and Martin, back when the world still made sense. Martin came rushing over in a panic. Amelia, what happened to your face? Damn it, you're burning up. He rummaged through drawers, searching for medicine. The scene shimmered like a haloed memory, so warm it almost felt fake. Amelia stood silently in the corner, watching him busy himself for her. Then she spoke softly. Martin? I'm here, Amelia. Hold on, hot water's coming. No, Martin, she shook her head gently. Stop being good to me. The image slowly faded away. When she opened her eyes again, all she saw was the ceiling of a hospital ward. Her eyelids felt too heavy to lift. Her hand was hooked up to and for, and even the act of sitting up made her skin ache. The door suddenly opened. Martin and Joanna walked in. Sis, I came to see you, Joanna said, placing a bouquet of flowers on the table, her expression timid and meek. Are you still mad at me? Martin looked at her dotingly, then turned to Amelia with a gaze colder than winter. She has no right to be mad at you. Joanna, you're just too kind. You even signed the statement to shield her. It's okay, Brother Martin, Joanna replied sweetly. I'm just worried about my sister. After all, she's always been like this. Amelia couldn't bear the sight of the two of them. She turned her face away. Suddenly, a memory surfaced. Back then, when her stepmother forced her way into the family, she had also pretended to slit her wrists. Her father had gone wild, dashing out the door yelling, "You pushed her to this. I have to save her." Exactly the same trick. Amelia couldn't help but let out a soft, scornful laugh. Amelia, Martin's expression darkened. At that moment, Joanna gently tugged his sleeve, her voice sweet as syrup. "Can I talk to Amelia alone for a moment?" Martin hesitated, clearly on guard. But after a moment, he relented. "All right. I'll have the bodyguards wait outside. Call me if anything happens." He left, and silence settled over the room. The only sound was their breathing. Joanna dropped the act and stepped closer. "Amelia, you're so pitiful. Your mom couldn't beat mine, and you can't beat me." Amelia said calmly, "If you're just here to gloat, consider it done. Now get out." She had never cared to fight Joanna over a man. If she had known Joanna liked Martin too, she would have never developed any feelings for him in the first place. But Joanna kept talking. "Everything online? I orchestrated it all. But even if you tell Martin, he won't believe you." Amelia let out a cold laugh. She had already guessed it. After all, only Joanna, who had once lived under the same roof, could have stolen her QQ account that easily. Finally, she looked Joanna in the eye, a flicker of pity in her gaze. "You never had uremia, did you? All this deception, just to make Martin prove how much he loves you. And how cruel he can be to me. If that's the case, why don't you just ask him to marry you? Open your mouth, and he'd probably dump me in a heartbeat." Joanna fell silent instantly. Amelia's calm indifference, and that trace of pity in her eyes, was, to Joanna, naked provocation. "You bitch. You know he can't defy his grandfather's will." Then, as if remembering something, Joanna lowered her voice and leaned in slowly. "Oh right, you weren't home the day your mother died. You were at a tutoring class, remember? So you never knew she could have lived." Her tone turned gleeful. "I went to your house on purpose that day. Told her your dad had already transferred all the assets to my mom, and that he was planning to sell you off to an old widower in exchange for a bride price." Joanna's eyes gleamed with malice. She suddenly burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha, guess what? Your mother got so mad she had an asthma attack, and I stomped on her inhaler. She was still calling your name as she died, over and over, Amelia. Amelia." Amelia's heart clenched violently. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You murderer." A tidal wave of fury and humiliation surged through her. She lunged forward, hands wrapping around Joanna's throat. But in just a second, Joanna shrieked, "Help! Brother Martin, help me!" The door slammed open. Martin stormed in and kicked Amelia away without hesitation, then rushed to cradle Joanna in his arms. "You never change, do you?" He shot Amelia a murderous glare, then turned away with Joanna in his arms. "Keep an eye on her," he ordered the bodyguards. Amelia screamed, her voice hoarse with desperation. She admitted it. She admitted she killed my mother. "Martin, you're protecting a monster. Wake up." But Martin didn't even look back. He called her insane and left. Soon after, Amelia was relocated to a villa owned by the Williams family. They locked her in the basement. She was only given one meal a day. The air was damp and cold, and her already weak body began to hallucinate. There were less than 2 days left until the wedding. Joanna's words haunted her. The hatred inside her boiled. Her mother hadn't died from a sudden heart attack, it was an untreated asthma attack. Preventable. Cruel. Amelia couldn't die. She had to survive. If she died here, she'd never escape. Never avenge her mother. Wrapped in silence, she hugged herself tight, racking her brain for a way to escape. During those 3 days, Joanna flaunted her relationship with Martin shamelessly. She posted photos, Martin kissing her at the top of a Ferris wheel, sending sky lanterns with diamond pendants attached, even throwing her a private concert by her favorite celebrity. All of it. Extravagant. Sickening. Amelia ignored it all. She lay still in the basement like a ghost, unmoving. She waited. Until finally, the door opened. Martin entered with visible excitement. "Amelia," he said, "I have good news." Amelia jerked her head up. Any news would be good, as long as it meant he would let her go. But Martin's next sentence made her blood run cold. "The match was successful. You'll be donating a kidney to Joanna, today." Impossible. That couldn't be true. She knew from the private investigator, Joanna wasn't her sister. She was the child of the stepmother and another man. They didn't share a blood type. There was no match. She struggled violently, trying to explain everything. But Martin only sneered. More excuses. You just don't want to donate. He strapped her to the surgical table. Amelia's heart sank. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Martin. She hadn't called him by name like that in a long time. Martin paused, glancing sideways at her. I'm begging you, please don't force me. You know I've always had a weak body. Martin sighed and leaned down, stroking her cheek gently, his tone disturbingly soft. Amelia, be good. It's just a kidney. You'll live. But if Joanna doesn't get it, she won't. After the surgery, we'll get married. As long as you don't hurt Joanna anymore. I'll be good to you. He turned and walked away. As the icy anesthesia needle pierced her skin, Amelia shut her eyes. A long time passed. When she finally awoke from the pain, the emptiness in her body where her kidney had been was terrifying. She clutched her head and screamed until her voice broke. A nurse from the next room banged on the door angrily. Shut it. President Williams' fiancé needs peace and quiet. If you keep yelling, we'll move you to the hallway. Amelia shoved the nurse aside and staggered to the next room. There, she saw Martin gently feeding Joanna porridge. When Joanna was done, Martin lovingly wiped the corner of her mouth, then popped the rice grain into his own mouth, like it was nothing. He got up and walked away to clean the bowl. Amelia followed him like a ghost. At the hallway corner, she overheard him speaking with Dad Forrest. Martin, her father said, I know you care about Joanna. But you're about to marry Amelia. You should keep some distance. Keep distance? Yes. The online rumors about Joanna are just dying down. If you're too affectionate, it might stir things up again. Then Dad Forrest asked curiously, but I always found it odd. Back then, you were ready to pull a knife on me for Amelia. When did you start liking Joanna? Martin paused. Then chuckled lowly. Because Joanna saved me. Amelia's heart dropped. She heard Martin exhale a puff of smoke. That year, I got into a fight at school. After class, a gang from another school jumped me in an alley. I passed out. Right before I blacked out, I felt someone step in and take the blow for me. Then, she carried me to the hospital. It was a girl. She smelled like ylang ylang. I've never forgotten that scent. I even heard her calling my name. When I woke up in the hospital, she was gone. But that Monday, when I went back to school, I smelled that same scent, on Joanna. Martin let out a cold laugh. Joanna took a knife for me. But Amelia? She avoided me for a whole week. Afraid of getting dragged into my mess. Dad Forrest looked startled. His face twisted as if he wanted to say something. But the nurse came to get them, and they both headed back to their room. Amelia stood frozen. She couldn't help it, her knees buckled. She bent over, clutching her stomach despite the fresh stitches tearing inside her, and laughed like a madwoman. So that's what it was. All this time, Martin had misunderstood. The ylang ylang scent. It was a perfume her mother wore, something she only used when meeting someone she liked. But that day, Amelia's uniform had been soaked in blood. The bottle of perfume was stolen by Joanna afterward. Amelia herself had taken a knife slash to the arm. The hospital cleaning and stitching had been agony. She'd never forgotten it. Afraid her stepmother would exaggerate and make her dad punish her, she'd kept the injury secret. She also avoided Martin for a week, just to hide her stitched-up arm. And now, all Amelia could think was, fate is cruel. But even if that incident was a misunderstanding, it was no excuse for everything Martin had done to her. By the time Martin had hurt her again and again for Joanna, there was no need to salvage this love. Amelia no longer wanted to be with him. She wanted to punish Martin, without him ever knowing the truth. That the person who saved him all those years ago, was actually her. Amelia sat in her hospital room for a long time, unmoving, until dusk began to fall. Her phone rang. It was the wedding planner, calling to confirm whether the wedding with Mr. Williams would proceed as scheduled the next day. Amelia gave a faint smile. The wedding will go on, just with a different bride. She had just sent Joanna's information over. The door opened, and Martin stepped in. It's freezing. Why aren't you wearing a coat? He said, frowning slightly as he reached to take her hand. Amelia recoiled from his touch. I want to go out, she cut him off. Where are you going? The wedding is tomorrow. What are you planning now? I'm hungry, she said softly, meeting his displeased gaze. I just had surgery. I want a bowl of old-style wontons. Martin's expression shifted. He remembered. Back in their school days, they used to eat that exact dish all the time. It only cost 15 yuan, but the wontons were plump and flavorful. It had been their favorite. And Amelia, she always said she was full early, just to place the biggest shrimp wonton into his bowl. His voice turned hoarse. You mean, from that same place? It's late. Let's go another day. But Amelia seemed not to hear him. She was determined. Martin furrowed his brow, then reached for his car keys. I'll take you. But before he could move, his phone buzzed. In a panic, he hit speaker. Joanna's sweet, syrupy voice drifted through. "Brother Martin. I can't sleep. Can you come stay with me?" Martin looked at Amelia, conflicted. "Go to her," she said quietly. "She needs you." Martin was startled by how calm she was. He stared at her for a long moment, a strange sense of unease creeping in. A feeling that if he turned around now, Amelia might vanish forever. But she was still in her hospital gown, wrapped in only a light coat. Where could she possibly go? His lips curled faintly. Then he turned and walked into Joanna's room. Amelia, meanwhile, took the elevator down, hailed a cab, and went straight home. Minutes later, she returned, this time with a suitcase in tow. On her way to the airport, she forwarded every file the private investigator had found to her father. She felt free. She truly wanted to see it. The look on her father's face when he found out Joanna wasn't even his biological daughter. And Martin, what expression would he make? She no longer cared. Her phone vibrated. A message popped up from the contact labeled fiancé. "Wife, I'm waiting for you in South City." Amelia smiled and tapped a voice reply. "I'll be there soon." The car sped faster. She was racing toward a new life. The next morning, Martin pushed open Amelia's hospital room, only to freeze in place. It was empty. The sheer curtains fluttered in the breeze, filling the room with silence. Where was Amelia? Martin frowned and made a call. Then another. It wasn't until the third attempt that he realized. She had blocked him. "Amelia," he growled through gritted teeth, his face darkening. "You've really got guts. Blocking me now, huh? Brother Martin?" Joanna's sweet voice came from behind. He turned and quickly softened his expression. "She's just throwing a tantrum. Playing hard to get." Joanna's eyes sparkled, though she pretended to look worried. "But the wedding starts at 11:30, and it's already past 7. She still needs makeup, her dress." Martin sneered. "Don't worry. Let's head to the hotel." She wouldn't dare skip her own wedding. On the way there, he stared quietly out the window. He was sure Amelia was hiding somewhere, waiting for him to coax her back. Yes, he had been cold to her lately. But hadn't she even donated a kidney to Joanna just to marry him? This little tantrum was nothing. After all, marrying him had always been Amelia's greatest wish. Martin smirked. Once he saw her, he'd give her the cold shoulder, let her remember who truly held power over her. But when he stepped into the bridal makeup room, the sight stunned him. The makeup artist stared back at him, just as confused. Martin's calm collapsed in an instant. "Where's the bride?" The artists exchanged blank glances. Wasn't she supposed to arrive with the wedding car? "We didn't see anyone." Martin's frown deepened. Panic rose in his chest. He immediately sent Amelia a voice message. "You've made your point. Now get over here. No one has time to play games with you." But as soon as he hit send, the message returned with a red exclamation mark. "Blocked on WeChat too?" Martin hurled his phone across the room. "Brother Martin," Joanna approached cautiously. "I tried to contact her too, she blocked me as well." "Amelia's not here yet," came Dad Forrest's voice. He entered and took one look at the wreckage, and Martin's face, and instantly understood. That girl doesn't know how to act properly. What kind of important event does she think she's missing? She's nothing like Joanna, so gracious, so thoughtful. The stepmother added fuel to the fire. "You know how spoiled she is. Last time at Joanna's birthday banquet, she stormed out. Now that she's marrying into the Williams family, just imagine how much trouble she'll cause. Martin, you've spoiled her too much. You should cancel this wedding altogether." Joanna lowered her head, her shoulders trembling delicately. "But this is her wedding with Brother Martin. Maybe she's not showing up because she feels awkward about donating her kidney to me. If that's the case, I'll leave. I don't want to ruin her happiness." "Don't be silly," Dad Forrest said, pulling her into a protective embrace. "You're still recovering, and you came to support her wedding. She's the one being unreasonable." Everyone started chiming in at once. Martin felt overwhelmed. In his mind, the only image lingering was Amelia's face from last night. When she mentioned wanting wontons, his heart had trembled. It was their best memory, their most innocent days. He'd been foolish to think she still loved him. So what if she donated a kidney to her own sister? It wasn't that big of a deal. He'd take care of her for life. If she needed another kidney, he'd find one. She was just being dramatic. If she dared play this game, Martin's face turned dark. He looked over at Joanna, who was wiping away tears. "Joanna," he said, "would you marry me instead?" The entire room fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. "Brother Martin, are you serious?" Joanna's voice trembled with excitement. "I'm serious," Martin replied, his eyes sharp as ice. "If Amelia can't act properly, I'll show her, anyone can be my bride." Joanna and her mother lit up with joy. Dad Forrest hesitated, frowning deeply. Martin, maybe we should wait a little longer for Amelia, she might show up any minute now. There's no need, Martin said coldly, turning around. Get Joanna ready for makeup. I'll step out for a call. He dialed his most trusted bodyguard. Find Amelia. Immediately. Last night around 8:30, near the old wonton shop by number 2 high school, check the surveillance footage there. Now. He practically roared the last word. After hanging up, Martin felt increasingly suffocated. Like an invisible hand was gripping his chest. He messaged Amelia across all her social media platforms, but every account had blocked him. They had known each other for nearly 20 years. No matter how upset she got, she had never blocked him before. For a moment, Martin even considered the worst, maybe she'd been kidnapped, robbed. There was no way she simply didn't want to marry him. An hour later, guests began pouring in. Nearly all of capital city's elites had arrived. Even entertainment reporters were stationed at the venue. A wedding carrying the weight of the Williams family's reputation could not allow for a single mistake. Brother Martin, Joanna called sweetly. I'm done with makeup. She stood before him in Amelia's custom-designed wedding gown, smiling brightly. Martin stared at the gown, as if trying to see someone else through it. Brother Martin? What's wrong? Joanna's eyes reddened. You're upset, aren't you? I knew I shouldn't have worn this dress. Martin snapped out of it and quickly pulled her into his arms. No, you look beautiful. Even better than Amelia. Though he had never even seen Amelia in a wedding dress. Joanna threw herself into his embrace, her eyes gleaming with calculation. Brother Martin, I think I know what my sister is thinking. She's probably watching everything in secret. The more you search for her, the more triumphant she'll feel. Why don't we post our wedding updates online? If she sees them, maybe she'll panic and come apologize at the ceremony. Martin hesitated. Was this really the right move? Deep down, Amelia was still his bride. But the guests were already here. The wedding couldn't stop now. Against his better judgment, he said, fine. Let's do it. They posed for a photo holding hands and posted it online. Caption, finally found you. Even if it's late, you were worth the wait. Within 5 minutes, the post went viral, topping the trending charts with millions of likes and shares. The comments flooded in, OMG. My favorite couple is finally getting married. A true love story. Blessings. Let's hope a certain someone doesn't try to stir up drama again. Martin and Joanna are perfect together. So glad Martin finally got away from that crazy Amelia. He and Joanna deserve happiness. Martin scrolled through the comments, but instead of satisfaction, irritation twisted in his chest. Amelia, are you watching? Come and crash the wedding. Come admit you were wrong. As long as you come, I'll take your hand right away. The wedding march began. Martin, his mind a million miles away, held Joanna's hand and walked down the aisle. His palm was damp with sweat. His eyes darted restlessly. Mr. Martin, do you take Miss Joanna to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer? As the officiant spoke, Martin's mind went blank. His eyes involuntarily searched the banquet hall's entrance. The doors remained tightly shut. Amelia hadn't come. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Joanna's face paled. She leaned in and whispered anxiously, Brother Martin, say you do. Martin snapped back to reality. Meeting Joanna's pleading gaze, his heart trembled, but the words I do stuck in his throat. His body resisted. No, something was wrong. Amelia hadn't come. She was supposed to be the bride. The Amelia who once collapsed in front of her mother's grave from crying. The Amelia who used to run to him at the mere flicker of his gaze. The Amelia who, even when he treated her coldly, would still cook him warm porridge and buy him stomach medicine. No. The single word slipped from his lips, reverberating through the hall thanks to the microphone on his collar. The entire room fell into shocked silence. Joanna's eyes welled with tears. Her lips trembled. Brother Martin, how could you do this to me? She turned to flee. Martin jolted, snapping out of his trance. He grabbed her wrist. Dad Forrest and the stepmother rushed on stage in a panic. Joanna, don't be upset. Martin's just nervous. Officiant, ask the question again. It's that jinx Amelia. She's messed up Martin's mind again. Suddenly, Dad Forrest's phone buzzed. A new email arrived from Amelia. It contained a compressed folder labeled, a wedding gift for your daughter. The stepmother's face darkened with rage. She snatched the phone and stormed on stage, grabbing the officiant's mic. I knew it. That wretched girl is behind this. She just wants to ruin this wedding. Fine, let's show everyone just how vicious she really is. Without hesitation, she plugged the phone into the projector and opened the folder. The moment Amelia's face appeared on screen, Martin's breath caught. Hi, Dad. Amelia was still in her hospital gown, smiling faintly at the camera. If you're seeing this, Martin and Joanna are probably getting married right now. I knew you'd have her stand in for me. After all, in your eyes, neither Mom nor I ever mattered. But it's fine. I wouldn't attend a murderer's wedding anyway. She paused. Then files began scrolling on screen, bank records, chat logs, audio clips, and a DNA report. These are all the criminal evidence against Joanna, Amelia said calmly. And the DNA test confirming her biological father is Michael. Just then, the doors of the banquet hall burst open. A team of officers strode in. I've already reported everything to the police, Amelia continued on screen. By the time you see this, they should be arriving, with her biological father. Oh, and one last thing, I'm getting married too. As for you, Dad. She gave a chilly smile. I hope you enjoy a long, lonely life. The video ended. The next moment, a police officer flashed his badge. We're from the city police department. We're investigating an organ trafficking case. We need the suspect to come with us. Dad Forrest turned ghostly pale. Suspect? Who? Before he could react, two officers rushed forward and pinned Joanna's arms behind her back. What are you doing? Let me go. She shrieked as they handcuffed her. Joanna, you are under investigation for illegal organ trafficking. Your accomplices have already confessed. You'll need to come with us. The hall erupted into chaos. Reporters in the back frantically took notes, their cameras rolling non-stop. The wedding had been live-streamed, and now, over 1 million viewers were watching this unfold in real time. Joanna's face turned as white as a sheet. Dad. Mom. Help me. I'm not a criminal. Martin. Yes, old Forrest, the stepmother cried, save our daughter. Just then, Michael stepped forward, shrinking into himself. Rose, don't you recognize me? The stepmother's face went deathly pale. Get lost. I don't know you. At that moment, Dad Forrest was completely thrown off balance, staring in disbelief at the man called Michael standing before him. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped the stepmother hard across the face. You filthy liar. Then tell me, who is he? The stepmother's eyes were filled with guilt, but her voice was shrill and defiant. How can you question me? I don't know this man at all. Joanna is your daughter. But one look at Michael, and Dad Forrest saw it. The resemblance between him and Joanna was undeniable. Then let's do a paternity test, he sneered coldly. If I find out you've lied to me all these years, I'll make sure you both suffer. The stepmother collapsed to the floor instantly. Joanna, still not giving up, looked to Martin with a glimmer of hope. But Martin stood frozen, stunned. His eyes remained locked on the final frame of the video, where Amelia's face lingered on the big screen. Not once had she addressed him directly. Not a single word. Why? His mind was blank, the last words of the video echoing in his head. She said she's getting married? To whom? Wasn't she supposed to marry me? When Martin finally came back to his senses, cold sweat drenched his back. His chest ached like it had been carved open with a blunt knife. By then, Joanna and the stepmother had already been taken away by the police. At the station, with overwhelming evidence provided by her accomplices, Joanna confessed everything while crying like a child. I was just jealous of Amelia. But when the officers played back the audio recording, her tears abruptly stopped. Terror flooded her face. Right, the day your mother died was my birthday. You weren't home, you were out at cram school, so you didn't know. But actually, she could have survived. I deliberately went to your house, told her your dad had already transferred all the assets to my mom's name, and that he was planning to sell you off to an old widower for a dowry. Ha ha ha, guess what? She got so angry she had an asthma attack, and I stomped her inhaler to pieces. Poor woman, even as she died, she kept calling your name. Amelia. Amelia. Joanna's voice echoed chillingly throughout the interrogation room. It was the exact same thing she had whispered to Amelia in the hospital. She recorded me? That bitch recorded me. Joanna panicked and waved her hands. That's fake. It's AI generated. Don't believe it. But it was too late. Dad Forrest's veins bulged as he pointed a trembling finger at Joanna, barely able to stay upright. So you killed Amelia's mother? You were just a child, what kind of monster does something like that? Joanna's face drained of all color. She lunged forward and grabbed his arm. No, Dad. I only said that to provoke Amelia. I didn't actually kill anyone. Please believe me. But Dad Forrest no longer wore the gentle, indulgent expression he had always given her. He looked at the daughter he had spoiled for over 20 years, now a complete stranger. And all he felt was deep, searing regret. He had given all his love to someone who wasn't even his child. And in doing so, he had neglected his real daughter. You still dare deny it? With all the evidence right in front of you. You even faked an illness to force Amelia into donating her kidney, and then sold it? Are you even human? With a furious roar, he raised his hand and slapped her again. The blow was so hard it twisted Joanna's face to the side. Next door, Michael had already submitted the paternity report. Joanna wasn't Dad Forrest's daughter. Earlier, during the wedding, Dad Forrest had refused to believe the report, convinced it was a fake Amelia made out of revenge. But when the police presented the official documents, he completely broke. The bloody truth unraveled years of doubt. The stepmother had never let him see Joanna's medical records, claiming her health was poor and he'd only be distressed. But in truth, she was hiding that Joanna had a rare blood type, panda blood. Dad Forrest and the stepmother both had common blood types. Joanna's could only have come from her real father, Michael. And all those years, the stepmother had been secretly wiring money under the guise of investments. Now he realized it was to pay off Michael's gambling debts. Meanwhile, what kind of life had his real daughter Amelia been living? The stepmother constantly badmouthed her, withheld her allowance, and gave all the best things to Joanna. Amelia had cried to him more than once, telling him how unfair it was. But he had only scolded her for being selfish, for not knowing how to share with her sister. How much had Amelia endured over the years? His knees buckled. Dad Forrest collapsed to the floor. I was a fool. A complete fool. Clutching the fabric over his chest, his heart felt like it was being stabbed by 1,000 needles. He gasped for air, yet the pain suffocated him. You lying witch. The one who saved Martin back then, was Amelia. Not you. Those words struck like thunder, making Martin's pupils constrict. He turned stiffly, his voice barely coherent. What did you say? It's true, Dad Forrest said through trembling lips, his eyes full of remorse. That perfume, the ylang ylang scent, was Amelia's mother's favorite. Amelia used it too. That night, after saving you, her clothes were soaked in blood. She washed them and never touched the perfume again. Joanna stole the bottle and tricked you into believing it was her all these years. Dad Forrest pounded his chest in anguish. If only I had seen through it all sooner. I've wronged Amelia. I've wronged her mother. Boom. Martin felt like someone had punched him straight in the heart. No wonder Amelia had avoided him afterward, she hadn't wanted him to see her injuries. No wonder she'd disappeared. All these years, he had wrongly accused her. While Amelia suffered hell in the Forrest family, it was Joanna who bullied her constantly. Martin, Joanna's voice quivered with tears. Don't believe him. I love you. Smack. Another slap. Even harder than Dad Forrest's. Martin's hand hung in the air, veins bulging with rage, eyes bloodshot like he could kill. You venomous bitch. I'll kill you. If the police hadn't held him back, he might have really done it. If not for you, Amelia wouldn't have left me. You lied to me, you ruined everything we had. This day was supposed to be his and Amelia's wedding. A day of joy. Joanna had destroyed it. Did you think jail would be the end of it? Martin sneered coldly, his eyes devoid of warmth. I'll make sure you suffer every day you're inside. And when you get out? I'll make sure your life is worse than death. Joanna trembled. She knew Martin too well, not just his love, but his ruthlessness. Her eyes flashed with hatred. Then she laughed bitterly, cornered and defiant. Yeah, I did it. So what? I was jealous of Amelia, okay? She had everything I didn't. And you, Martin? Don't act like you're so righteous. You hurt Amelia every time, for me. Ha! Amelia doesn't even love you anymore. She's marrying someone else now. Joanna's words were like a dagger, piercing Martin's heart with terrifying precision. He could hardly breathe. Pain suffocated him. He swayed, on the verge of collapse. All he could see was the shattered look in Amelia's eyes, that expression of utter despair, slicing into his chest like a blade, again and again. Of course. He should have realized it long ago. Back in high school, when he was being harassed by bullies, Amelia had asked him every day if he'd been in any fights, reminding him not to cause trouble. Joanna, on the other hand, had been busy flirting with boys in class. She never once asked how he was. The one who had risked her life to save him, it could only have been Amelia. Every crucial moment of his life, it was Amelia who stood by him. Suddenly, memories flooded back, memories of all the terrible things he had done to her. After Joanna falsely claimed credit for saving him, she had cried crocodile tears about how Amelia had bullied her over the years. Out of revenge, he tricked Amelia into applying to a third-rate university, then left the country with Joanna. He still remembered that day at the airport. Amelia had crouched on the floor, stunned and helpless. And he and Joanna stood nearby, smirking with satisfaction, taking pictures of her misery and posting them to their class group chat for everyone to mock. When he returned to the country and saw Amelia again, she didn't bring up the past, didn't show hate. He heard she had studied another year and finally gotten into her dream university. She still stood strong, like a cactus in the desert. That quiet resilience ignited his resentment again. So, he deliberately made Amelia take Joanna's place in a game of truth or dare, which nearly led to her being assaulted. But she survived, even came to school the next day as if nothing had happened. When someone told him, he merely sneered, she got away. Have those men beaten. Useless idiots, can't even handle one Amelia. Amelia always had that calm, unreadable face, joy or sorrow, it was hard to tell. And that calmness only provoked the darkest parts of him. You don't care about me, huh? Fine. Let's see who breaks first. So, when the earthquake struck, and Amelia reached out her hand, pleading with her eyes for him to save her, he turned away. Joanna? You lost your dog? Okay. I'll come find it now. He left her there, beneath the ruins. Later, during their first engagement party, he slapped her across the face in front of everyone. Did he feel satisfied? Maybe he just wanted to see Amelia cry. To beg. To apologize, for keeping her distance back when he was being bullied, as if she had betrayed him. All those cruel, self-righteous punishments, deep down, they were driven by the bitterness he'd carried for years. But now he knew he'd been wrong all along. Scene after scene of Amelia's wounded expression played in his mind with agonizing clarity. Her heart must have been torn to pieces. She had loved him so deeply, and this was the love she received in return. She had given him all her tenderness and sincerity. And he, blinded by lies, had pushed her away, destroyed it all with his own hands. Martin stared at Joanna with a chilling gaze. The last remnants of warmth in his eyes faded completely. Remember this, I will make sure you die. With that, he walked out of the station, hollow and numb. The grand wedding had become a public farce. Online, the backlash erupted instantly. The same fans who once adored Joanna now turned on her and the stepmother with vitriol. Her past quickly surfaced, and it wasn't pretty. I went to high school with Joanna, she was a bully who extorted money and harassed prettier girls. I never dared speak out before because she had so many fans. Always thought she had a mean face. Now I know it matched her heart. Her mom's even worse. She used to be a sex worker in the village. She'd dump aborted fetuses in the river with rotten fish. Absolutely vile. Like mother, like daughter. Martin's a damn fool. Trash couple, just stay far away from Amelia, please. Martin read the comments and could only laugh bitterly. He quickly posted a clarification video, I'm sorry to everyone. The wedding with Joanna was a disaster. The woman I truly love, the only woman I ever wanted to marry, is Amelia. And all of Joanna's previous accusations against her were lies. Amelia is the kindest, most incredible girl I've ever met. She means everything to me. Please, help me find her. I need to tell her something. But soon, a comment shot to the top, Amelia just got married in Snow City. Want me to send you the live stream replay? Martin's breath caught. At that same moment, thousands of miles away, in Snow City. A unique wedding was underway inside a luxury hotel. Amelia wore a champagne-colored gown, shimmering with threads of gold. Her long princess curls framed her delicate face, a tiny jeweled crown resting atop her head. She looked like a vision out of a fairy tale. The groom, Charles Johnson, wore a tailored night-inspired outfit, white cape, silver sword gleaming at his waist. The two stood side by side on the red carpet, like a princess and her knight, straight out of a storybook. The stage was designed like a scene from a theatrical play, a dragon's lair, with a distant castle, piles of gold coins and gemstones scattered with flower petals. Every detail told a story, a knight charging into a dragon's cave to rescue the princess he loved. The guests were in awe, raising their phones to capture the moment. Even the officiant had been asked to wear a priest's robe and hold a cross, adding to the sacred atmosphere. He cleared his throat and solemnly asked, Princess, do you take this brave knight, who rescued you from the dragon's claws, to be your husband? Laughter rippled warmly through the crowd. Amelia's smile glowed. She looked at Charles's handsome, gentle face, and her heart skipped a beat. I do. When the officiant asked them to share their story, Amelia's eyes sparkled like stars. Our story really is like a knight rescuing a princess. Charles has saved me 3 times, it feels like fate. The first time was at my workplace. I was being harassed and tried to escape. Charles appeared out of nowhere, saved me, and even paid for my hospital bill before disappearing. I didn't even get to thank him. The second time was during the 5.7 earthquake in Haicheng. I was trapped under rubble, and Charles, a volunteer, carried me out. When our eyes met, we were stunned. That's when we exchanged numbers. I later found out he had rushed out of the hospital that first time because his dog was about to give birth. The third time? I was drunk after an engagement party. I nearly got hit by a car. He arrived just in time to pull me back. Her voice trembled. Her eyes turned red. Back then, my life felt like hell. But Charles, he was my little son. He pulled me out again and again. Now, I just want to run toward happiness with him, forever. Charles squeezed her hand, eyes soft with devotion. We've lost time. But from now on, I'll protect her. I'll be her son, and never let her get hurt again. Applause erupted across the room. Every guest was moved by the couple standing before them. They were meant to be. The celebration continued, filled with games and joy. Afterward, Charles carefully lifted Amelia into the car, tucking a blanket over her to keep her warm. Amelia leaned her head against the car window, her gaze drawn to a string of trending topics that had just popped up on her phone. Hashtag Joanna caught selling organs. Hashtag Martin and Joanna trash couple confirmed. One explosive headline after another. Amelia's eyes lingered for only a second before she calmly exited the app and closed her eyes, ready to enjoy a moment of peace. A message arrived from an unfamiliar number. She knew instantly, it was from Dad Forrest. A long message. Full of apologies. Full of regret. But Amelia no longer needed any of it. She was on her honeymoon, traveling the world hand in hand with the one she loved. It was her first time traveling abroad, and she was like an excited little girl. With Charles, she watched the northern lights, posed under the Eiffel Tower, and danced freely in a field of lavender. Charles had a great eye for photography. In every photo he took, Amelia's smile shone bright and radiant. She played and laughed with abandon. As if she were reclaiming all the happiness she'd missed in childhood, all the pain she had endured. They say a happy childhood heals a lifetime, and a broken one takes a lifetime to heal. Amelia knew she belonged to the latter. Neglected in her family, betrayed in love. But finally, sweetness had arrived to wash away the bitterness. The night before returning home, they stayed out late, shopping until their suitcases could barely close from all the souvenirs. Curled up in Charles's arms, Amelia gazed at him with glowing eyes. You know, she whispered, there was a time I truly believed I'd been broken beyond repair, that I'd lost the ability to love. But then I met you. And I realized I still crave love, and I want to give the best of my love to you. Charles kissed her gently on the forehead, his eyes filled with deep affection. Of course I know, my princess. We're heading home tomorrow. It's time to settle some accounts. The day they returned, Amelia went straight to the Forrest estate. Dad Forrest was overjoyed, standing a little straighter than he had in days. Amelia, you're finally willing to come home, his eyes filled with tears as he reached for her hand, but she brushed him off coldly. I'm just here to take back what belonged to my mother. Don't touch me. She handed over a document, her lawyer beside her. These are the shares in the company that were rightfully my mother's. I should have inherited them. But on my 18th birthday, you forced me to sign them over to Joanna. Her eyes turned icy. You made me give my mother's legacy to her killer. The word killer came out like venom, clenched between gritted teeth. Dad Forrest turned pale. He shook his head furiously. No, Amelia, it was all a misunderstanding. I see clearly now, they were liars, those two. I've already driven them out. Joanna was being prosecuted and still detained. But Amelia thought, that's not enough. Her mother, buried with injustice and sorrow. And Joanna, living comfortably behind bars? That was too kind of fate. Everyone who had hurt her or her mother, would pay. Amelia gave a bitter smile. Dad, you never loved Mom. You killed her. And you gave me a childhood that was hell. You didn't see it, but those two women did unspeakable things to me. There were days I wondered if I'd live to adulthood. I still wake up in terror some nights. Dad Forrest broke into cold sweat and tried to smile. I'm sorry, Amelia. I was wrong. Take everything I have. Just, please forgive me. You're my only family now. Do you really want me to die alone? And who did you marry? Why didn't you let me attend your wedding? Amelia didn't speak. Instead, she pinched her thigh to force out a few tears. Dad Forrest's heart shattered. He hurried to sign the property transfer agreement. The moment she had it in hand, Amelia turned and walked out. The sorrow in her eyes instantly cleared. Fatherly love? What a joke. She had stopped believing in that the day her mother died. Now that I have the assets, she murmured with a cold smile, dialing her phone, it's time for Martin to feel the pain I once endured. After obtaining the Forrest Group shares and her father's personal assets, Amelia immediately began dismantling the company. She deliberately diluted her shares and sold them off to his rivals. Then, she launched her own company, naming it after her mother. A few strategic moves later, Forrest Group had been hollowed out. The senior executives, seeing no profits, turned on Dad Forrest in fury. The day he heard the news, his blood pressure spiked. He stormed over to confront Amelia, only to be frozen in place by a single look from Charles. Johnson. Young Master Johnson. Charles's voice was ice. Good. Since you know who I am, this will be easier. My wife suffered enough at the hands of her so-called biological father. I'll make sure she gets justice. Charles's true identity was something Amelia herself had learned only recently. He was the heir to the Johnson Group, assets worth over $60 billion. Crushing a flailing Forrest Group was nothing to him. Oh, and Mr. Forrest, Charles pulled out a medical record, you haven't exactly been clean either. That low-tier celebrity you've been seeing? Just diagnosed with a nasty STD. I suggest you get checked. Dad Forrest went completely white. Days later, he landed in the ICU. Amelia had finally beaten her father at his own game. But it wasn't over yet. She sued her stepmother and reclaimed every cent of marital assets that belonged to her mother and father. The stepmother, furious, tried to block her at the house when Amelia came to reclaim the property. You little whore. You destroyed my daughter, now you want to destroy me too? I'm not leaving. Over my dead body. Amelia looked at the woman who had abused her for years and smiled. Auntie, you seem to have forgotten, this house is in my name. She held up the deed. Her name, Amelia, was printed clearly at the top. If you refuse to leave, I'll report you for trespassing. The stepmother snarled, don't get cocky. Plenty of men like Joanna. Some rich heir will bail her out, and when she's free, we'll tear you apart. Amelia suddenly felt nothing but pity. Maybe you should be more worried about your ex-husband, she said lightly. He used your ID to take out a massive loan. The debt collectors should be on their way. The woman's eyes widened in shock, her fingers trembling. You little. The venom and arrogance vanished, replaced by sheer terror, as if Amelia were death itself. Goodbye, Auntie. With a snap of her fingers, 2 bodyguards stepped forward and dragged the woman out, ignoring her howls and protests. Given how selfish she was, she'd probably flee the country now, leaving Joanna behind to rot. With the stepmother out of the way, Amelia began cleaning the house. She planned to renovate everything, erase every trace of Joanna and the stepmother. Only when the space was clean, truly clean, would she move back in. 1 week later, Martin showed up downstairs at Amelia's new place. He looked noticeably thinner, his eyes sunken and exhausted. But the moment he saw Amelia, his gaze lit up. Amelia. Martin rushed forward, only to be blocked before he could get close, by Charles. Stay away from my wife, Charles said coldly. He stood protectively in front of Amelia, like he was guarding something more precious than life itself. Martin's eyes burned red with jealousy. So this is the man you married? Amelia, stop it. You still love me. How could you marry someone else? Amelia looked at him with nothing but indifference. The moment you hurt me for the first time, I stopped loving you, she said flatly. You have no right to ask me that question. She took Charles's hand and turned to leave. Martin's eyes were bloodshot as he grabbed her wrist, desperation leaking from his voice. I just want to hear it from you, he said, trembling. Back then, in that alley, it was you, wasn't it? You took that knife for me. And afterward, you acted cold so I wouldn't worry. Amelia paused, turning back to look at him. Memories surged forward in an instant, but the love that had once lit her eyes was long extinguished. All that remained were ashes. So what if I did? She gave a soft, cold laugh, her eyes full of contempt. I was young and stupid. If I had known how things would turn out, I'd have rather let you die from that knife. The words stabbed straight through Martin's chest. Agony spread from his heart through every vein. He could barely stand. Amelia, don't be like this. I just made a mistake. I confused her with you. All these years, I was kind to Joanna because I thought she was the one who saved me. If you'd told me the truth sooner, I would have never even looked at her. Still making excuses. Amelia had had enough. She yanked her hand free. Smack. She slapped him, hard. Martin cupped his cheek in disbelief. You hit me? Amelia shook out her hand and sneered. Woke you up yet? That slap was for lying to me about my university choices, and forcing me to repeat a year in shame. Smack. That one's for letting me nearly get assaulted by drunk men. Then 2 more came in quick succession. These are for abandoning me during the earthquake, and for slapping me in front of everyone at our engagement banquet. What you did to me, I could beat you to death and it still wouldn't be enough. But I don't want to go viral for killing trash like you. Her palm throbbed from the strikes, but a dark weight lifted from her chest. She felt light. Free. Charles gently took her hand, cradling it with care and blowing on it. Darling, your hand must hurt. Let me take over. Martin, seeing their intimacy, turned even redder with jealousy. But before he could react, Charles's fist came crashing down. Thud. One punch sent Martin sprawling to the ground. Hurt, doesn't it, scumbag? Charles said, his tone ice cold. Good. My wife suffered so much because of you. Now it's your turn. Charles had trained in combat. That punch landed with terrifying force. Martin roared with rage. Amelia. Are you just going to stand there and watch him beat me? But Amelia didn't even glance at him. Her eyes were full of admiration, for Charles. She continued holding Charles's hand tenderly. Does your hand hurt, babe? Let me massage it. Martin's heart shattered all over again. He took a step back, unsteady. Amelia. He looked like a man who had lost everything. I admit it. I wronged you. I deserve this. But now that you've taken your revenge, come back with me. You can keep hating me. Just, give us a chance. His eyes were full of longing as he took another step toward her. We can start over, if you just give me one more chance. Charles looked ready to throw another punch. But Amelia raised her hand to stop him. Martin's eyes lit up. He thought there was hope. Start over? Amelia paused, then slowly smiled and pointed to her abdomen. You seem to have forgotten, you still owe me a kidney. Martin's breath caught. Right. He had forced her into surgery. She'd lost a kidney, because of him. Amelia let out a bitter laugh. Martin, ever since that surgery, I've had lingering pain. Turning over in bed at night hurts. You say you want to start over? Then give me back the kidney I lost. Can you do that? Martin froze. Guilt crashed over him like a tidal wave. Tears finally spilled from his eyes. He didn't remember how he left. Somehow, he found himself standing in front of the new house he had once prepared for him and Amelia. He walked inside, unable to stop himself. Everything inside had been designed with Amelia's tastes in mind. She had helped with the renovations, but he had never even bothered to look. He crouched down, buried his face in his hands, and sobbed. Amelia, I'm sorry. But no one was there to hear it. During this time, Martin kept trying to remind Amelia of his existence. He used all kinds of different phone numbers to send her long, heartfelt messages, pages and pages of them. Then came the gifts. Luxury items streamed into her office like water. She gave the gifts away without a second glance. As for the messages? She blocked every number without even reading them. Still unsatisfied, Martin publicly declared his love for Amelia online. He started live streaming, reporting his daily progress and winning her back to his audience. Many viewers were just there for the drama, but some were genuinely moved by his persistence. Amelia paid no attention. She simply posted sweet couple photos of herself and Charles online. She wrote, "No matter how noisy this world gets, I chose you, and I will only love you." Charles quickly replied, "I'm sure of this too. I'll never be unfaithful." Their public affection melted the internet. This is real love. Let Martin give up already. Exactly. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Scram. I'm relieved to see how perfect Amelia and Charles are together. Reporting Martin's live stream right now. As the crowd grew louder, Martin's live stream was eventually taken down. Amelia remained unshakable, cold as steel. That is, until Martin, dead drunk, stood outside her home all night and nearly froze to death from hypothermia. Out of basic human decency, Amelia had him taken to the hospital. When Martin woke up, he grabbed her hand with tears in his eyes. Amelia, please, just give me one more chance. I promise I'll never let you down again. When he had passed out from the cold, he'd had a near-death experience. In that moment, all he could think of was her, Amelia. Amelia looked at Martin's face. Now, he looked haggard, desperate, nothing like the Martin he used to be. The pain he'd caused her over the past decade had finally come back to him. But sadly, remorse that arrives too late is worth less than dirt. She gently withdrew her hand and replied with complete calm, "Sorry. I can't give you that chance." "Why not?" Martin asked, unwilling to accept it. "I'll wait until you divorce him. I don't care about anything, just you." Amelia shook her head. "There's no need. Because I truly don't love you anymore." That youthful love had long been worn away by his endless betrayals. Now, no matter what Martin did, it couldn't stir even a flicker of feeling in her. Besides, "Martin, I'm a loyal person." She raised her hand to show the ring on her finger. "I'm not like you. I will never betray the one I love." With that, she turned and walked away. Martin finally seemed to quiet down. The harassing messages stopped. No more gifts arrived. Amelia enjoyed the peace and focused on her career. Her new company, which focused on design, quickly gained traction. Thanks to Charles's support, she earned her first bucket of gold with ease, and the company quickly found its footing. This video is an original work of the YouTube channel Romance Grove, and is published exclusively on this channel. Please don't re-upload or share it on other channels. Meanwhile, Joanna's case finally reached a verdict. She was sentenced to 10 years for her involvement in illegal organ trafficking. At the same time, Joanna was diagnosed with cancer. Maybe it was karma. She had faked kidney disease to steal someone else's organ, and now that real illness had come for her, and there was no cure. Joanna made a huge scene in prison, demanding to see Amelia. Amelia refused. She had no time to waste on Joanna, her focus was her company now. But the loss of a kidney had left her physically weaker than most. A little stress or overwork left her feeling unwell. Doctors advised her to wait on the transplant list, and Charles was using all his resources to help her. Day by day, life seemed to be getting better. One evening, Amelia got off work and headed toward the parking garage. The lot was especially quiet that night. Just as she pressed her car remote, footsteps suddenly sounded behind her. Before she could react, a strong-smelling rag was pressed against her face. Her heart jumped. She instinctively struggled. But within seconds, she passed out. When she woke up, she was tied up in an abandoned warehouse. Surrounded by expired canned goods and dusty iron shelves, she found herself face to face with two people. Michael. And her stepmother. Both wore twisted smiles filled with hatred. "Amelia, you've finally landed in my hands," the stepmother snarled. She looked nothing like her former elegant self. Her clothes were cheap and wrinkled, her hair dry and frizzy. Michael, on the other hand, was impatient. He pressed a knife to Amelia's neck. "Enough talk. Let's get down to business, money." Her stepmother's voice was just as vicious. "That's right. Give us 100 million, and we'll spare your life. If not, we'll carve you into pieces and sell you to a trafficking ring in northern Myanmar." She pulled out Amelia's phone, unlocked it, and scrolled through the contacts. "Call Martin. Tell him to pay up." Amelia frowned. "Why Martin? I have nothing to do with him anymore." She truly didn't believe Martin would come for her. But the stepmother's face twisted with rage. She lifted her shirt and revealed a fresh surgical scar. "Martin cut out one of my kidneys, for you." Amelia froze. Staring at that fresh wound on the stepmother's stomach, her eyes widened in shock. "He took your kidney, for me." "That's right. He once stole your kidney for Joanna, and now he's avenging you." The fire in the stepmother's eyes burned ever brighter, like she wanted to scorch the whole world. "Call him now. Martin loves you. If we ask for 100 million, no, 1 billion, he'll definitely pay." Greed consumed her completely. Amelia remained silent, fingers subtly brushing against something behind her back. Then she spoke softly. "I cut ties with Martin long ago. He's way too selfish, he wouldn't come for me." The two criminals exchanged glances, clearly suspicious. Michael shoved the stepmother. "Just make the call already." They dialed. Martin's voice burst through the speaker, trembling with excitement. "Amelia? Why you're calling me?" Amelia took a deep breath. "Martin, you." The knife crept closer to her throat. She bit her lip and softened her tone. "How have you been lately?" Martin was emotional. "Not good. I miss you. I've been waiting to hear from you every day." "I just wanted to ask that," she said gently. Meanwhile, behind her back, her fingers frantically tapped her smartwatch. It was a gift from Charles. He'd activated GPS tracking and an emergency SOS function in case she was ever in danger. She just needed to buy some time. Charles would come for her. The stepmother, seeing her stalling, slapped her hard. The sharp crack echoed through the warehouse. "You little bitch. Stop wasting time. Tell him we want 1 billion. Hearing the commotion, Martin's voice shot up. "Amelia? What's going on? Where are you?" The stepmother snapped. "Stop playing dumb. Tell him we want 1 billion. Martin's breathing grew heavier. "It's you. Joanna's mother." 1 billion, huh? Fine. But I'll need time to gather that kind of money. First, tell me where you are. The stepmother let out a cold laugh. "You think we're idiots? Transfer the 1 billion to an overseas account. I'm not stupid enough to let you track me down. And if you don't pay, get ready to collect Amelia's corpse." "Okay, I'm on it right now," Martin replied anxiously. "Just don't scare Amelia. She's easily frightened." Amelia's breath caught. She hadn't expected the stepmother to still have a backup plan. And Martin's response left her with complicated emotions she couldn't quite explain. A few minutes later, the piercing sound of police sirens echoed from outside the warehouse. They grew louder, closer, until they stopped right at the door. The stepmother and Michael's faces changed instantly. Before they could react, the warehouse door was violently kicked open. Charles and Martin burst in with the police. The moment they saw Amelia tied to a chair, they rushed to her side. Charles hurried over and untied her, checking her over in a panic before pulling her into his arms, trembling from head to toe. "Amelia. It's okay now. God, I was so scared." Amelia leaned into him. Her tense body finally relaxed. "I'm okay. Thank God for your smart bracelet, it saved me." Seeing the situation turn against them, the stepmother and Michael tried to escape through the back door. But the police had already surrounded the building. They were both tackled and handcuffed. Panicked, they screamed and cursed, the stepmother shouting curses at Amelia even as she was dragged away. Then, Martin kicked her hard. "I should have killed you both." He knew. This was all his fault. If he hadn't impulsively tried to get revenge on his stepmother, she wouldn't have taken it out on Amelia. In the end, everything Amelia suffered was because of him. He couldn't even look her in the eyes. Turning to her, his gaze filled with sorrow. "Amelia." He gave her a bitter smile. "I'm not like him. He's always there for you. He knows how to protect you better than I ever did." He, of course, meant Charles. Amelia gave him a small nod, a gesture of acknowledgement. Then she turned away as Charles carried her out of the warehouse, leaving Martin behind, unheard and forgotten. After that day, the stepmother and Michael were both sent to prison. When Joanna learned she had no hope left, she broke down completely, spending her days ranting and raving in madness. Martin sent Amelia a few messages now and then, just to check on her health. She only replied once. "Thank you for coming to save me that day. Let the past stay in the past. Let's both look forward from now on." After that, Martin never messaged again. Later, Amelia finally got a matching kidney. She underwent surgery and, for the first time in a long time, could live like a normal person. Not long after, she became pregnant, with a child born of love. It was said Martin had donated most of his assets to charity, choosing a life of quiet wandering. Amelia would still receive postcards from him now and then, sent from all over the world. He said everything he did was to pray for her happiness. And at the end of every card, he always wrote the same blessing: "May your life always be peaceful and full of joy." Amelia carefully tucked the postcard away. Behind her, Charles called out warmly, "Amelia, dinner's ready." She turned back, smiled, and took his outstretched hand. Step by step, walking into the happiness that was now hers to keep.